So this month's blog posts looked a lot at how to choose a supervisor. And today I want to spend this vlog discussing how I chose my supervisor and institution. As I said before, putting the advice I'm giving in the blogs into a real life context for you, a lived in experience. So when I was doing my preliminary research about where I might want to go to, where might have me, I came up with a short list of 5 institutions, largely, almost exclusively because of the individual who would be my supervisor if I went there. And I had various reasons for not applying to some of those. I'm going to talk you through. So the first university I was considering had a lot of kudos. An amazing individual who would have been my supervisor, just an incredibly intelligent man who I would have loved to have worked with. But the institution itself didn't offer any funding opportunities for me, and they charged a fee for even putting your proposal forward, an administrative fee of £50, which when you're a student and applying to be an eternal student, it is a lot of money. It's worth it if you think that's definitely the right place for you and definitely the right opportunity. But it did make me think a bit harder about whether or not it was. And after speaking to my then supervisor of my MA and my head of department of where I did my MA, Royal Holloway, I decided that it wasn't the best fit for me. Amazing individual, but a busy individual. They didn't have a strong Victorian department, which meant that there would be fewer opportunities to participate in research events at my affiliated institution if I went there. And that's really something to consider, because the university you become associated with, I'm now with Liverpool John Moores, it's working with your affiliated institution is the easiest way to get those high impact CV building, exposure giving research culture experiences. Getting yourself involved in lecture series that the research centre gives, helping to run those, because a big part of academia is attending, participating in and running academic events, conferences. Even just the opportunity to present your research as part of a PhD collective, which is something doctoral academies are increasingly working on building as an opportunity for its PhD students, because presenting your research can be terrifying. You live in your own bubble of research for such a long time that you need those opportunities to help prepare you for when you participate in real conferences, because you know what your idea is. Presenting that idea to an external audience who has no idea what you're working on and might not know anything about your chosen author, text, whatever subject. You need a little helping hand every now and then, something to take the edge off, and that's what those sort of experiences can do, which, if your university doesn't offer those opportunities, can make things harder for you down the road, which is why taking consideration of those factors now can help you a lot over your next 3 years plus of your PhD. So I didn't apply there. But I did have a very fruitful conversation with a very nice academic who worked there. So it's worth sending an email anyway. The next university I applied to but didn't go to, again, amazing individual, a really strong department for my subject area, fantastic university, but they didn't offer funding, and the individual was so busy. We barely had email exchanges because he was just here, there and everywhere all the time, being an academic rock star, which is great, but not for when you're trying to get a draft proposal through. And that is something to consider. How much time does that amazing individual have to give you? Because there's no point in them being amazing if you don't get the benefit of it. Do you see what I mean? So that ruled that institution out. I applied to Royal Holloway because it was where I did my BA and my MA. And I'll be honest, I applied there because it had a strong department and I knew the university well. I felt comfortable there. It wasn't the best fit for my project, and I got offered a place, but I didn't get offered funding because it wasn't the best fit for my project. There was no one there who specialised or was even that aware of my chosen author for my topic. There were people who had worked on aspects of what my project would be about, who would have been wonderful for that, but it wasn't the best fit for my project. I applied there largely out of comfort and the known. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up, is I think it is something to sit down and have a real conversation with yourself before you go through the effort of applying. I also considered applying to one other university before we get to the one I did apply to. Fantastic individual, again, bit of a superstar in my field. Great university with a strong link to my research project, but no funding. They didn't offer funding. And it depends what position you're in. I was not in a position to undertake a PhD without that funding. You have to be honest with yourself about whether or not you are. If you don't need someone to pay you and you can afford to pay the fees or take out the loan, great. If you aren't, to get a year in and have to stop or take a break would be so upsetting for me as an individual if I had to do that. You have to be honest with whether you can manage that workload. If you have to go part-time and work part-time, fine, but if you want to be done and dusted in the 3-4 years full-time, you need to know if you can fund it. So I didn't apply to that institution, which led me to Liverpool John Moores. So I did apply, I was successful, I was offered a full principal's scholarship, so that means that my fees are covered, I have effectively a monthly salary, and I have a research budget for research expenses like travel to conferences, travel to specialist archives or collections, but most importantly, I have an amazing supervisor. We hit it off from the first kind of email. He's well respected, really well respected in our field. He is published in that field. He is funny, which is not a be-all, end-all criteria, but for my kind of personality, I need somebody I can have a joke with. That was one winning criteria for me. You may have something totally different. If you're rubbish at deadlines, you might need someone who's really strict. If you're an overworker, overachiever, you might need someone who slows you down, reins you in a little bit. Another aspect of all of this is judging what you as an individual need from who is effectively your manager, your boss. Liverpool John Moores had this amazing individual, Dr. Jonathan Cranfield. It had a doctoral academy which offered lots of relaxed events and opportunities to demonstrate your research to others and to practice research skills, build your academic CV. It was made clear to me that if I was successful and I wanted it, I would have the opportunity to teach at some point. I've been fortunate enough to dive into that experience this term. So my takeaway, make sure you know exactly what you need from your supervisory team and institution, and that you prioritise that when you're making your choices. Don't pick the most amazing status uni or the most amazing status individual and not consider those other elements.